Okay guys, we're going to go ahead and get started since it's right at, 6:31 now. We are so glad you guys are here. Let me start with introductions real quick. My name is Madeline Clement. I'm one of the counselors here, and I have 6th graders and 8th graders this year. So all of you guys in here, I'm these students' counselors. And what's neat about Timberview is we rotate up. So next year I'll be with our 7th graders and our 5th graders. So I'm going to follow your kids all through their time at Timberview. Back behind me is Ms. Lorton. She's our 5th and 7th grade counselor as well here at Timberview. And we're going to just kind of tag team on this presentation and talk through a lot of things for you. But let me go back. Let me thank you for being here. This is our biggest transition in the building. We're moving from one side of the building across the courtyard to the other. And a lot of people think, well, we're already here, it's not a big deal. But this is a huge transition. We go from just a totally different way of doing things on the intermediate side to a very different way on the middle school side. And things get harder this year. A lot more rigorous, a lot more is going to be happening, and it's exciting. This is a neat year for your students, but it's a big one, so we're glad you're here to learn about it. Okay, so what we're going to do is on January 29th or 30th, which is this coming Thursday, Friday, we're going to meet with your students in their advisory classes, and we're going to talk about registration with them. And so we're going to start that process this week with your students. So during registration with us, they're going to complete a draft registration form. And what that is it's a chance for them to try out the registration process, fill things in, see what it looks like. And then at the end of that, they're going to turn it into us because we know that sometimes forms don't make it back to us. So we'll do that draft with your student, we'll take it up, and we'll hang on to it. And we're going to have that as something to use to make their schedule in case they don't turn in the final one. They'll leave us with a packet. The packet comes home to you guys, and you'll look through things, you'll make decisions as a family, you'll sign off on it, and that's the final form that we're going to use, and we'll trash that draft form as soon as we get the final. If you have questions about courses here at Timberview, the middle school course guide is found on the Keller site under Students and Families Need to Know. Middle school and high school course guides are on there if you're ever interested. Okay, so let's look at a couple grading guidelines for middle school. Some of these are changes from intermediate school, good things to know. So penalties for late work. 3 days after the due date, the assignment may become a 0. Now there is some teacher discretion here as well, but that is a policy that is in place. 10 points off per day the assignment is late. Tests and major assignments can be retaken or redone or if they scored an 80 or below, and they can get a grade up to an 80. But before they do that, they need to have attended a tutorial session with the teacher so they can get some reteaching. And there's no extra credit offered. Okay, so STAAR test this year, your student will take reading, math, and writing. Okay, and then after the STAARS test, we have something this year, we have something at Timberview called Math Quest or Reading Styles. This is a middle school course, but this is already being offered right now to your 6th graders. This is a remediation type course that would take place during their advisory time. So it says additional courses of Math Quest or Reading Styles will be required if your student did not meet the passing standard for STAAR. And so you would be notified if that was the case, and we would replace their advisory with one of these classes. Right now we have some teachers who pull out during advisory to give extra support. It's the same sort of thing, and so it's already happening for your students. And so if they're receiving that support, it's very possible they may receive it next year as well. Okay, this next slide is a ways off because we're talking about high school graduation here. But we want to tell you this real quick because this is a big deal and it's going to start affecting your students next year. There are new graduation requirements for the state of Texas. And so if you go to the Keller webpage, you'll see this icon right here. It says I graduate. You can go there and look up anything you could ever want to know about high school, but it's a good thing to start doing because your student in 8th grade will start making course selections that will determine some of the things that they'll do in high school. So it's a good time to start over this next year in 7th grade to start looking at those things. If you are interested in learning more about that, on February 4th here at Timberview at 6 o'clock, we're going to have an I Graduate meeting. It talks about House Bill 5, which is it's what contains all this graduation information. All the middle schools are hosting one. They're all identical meetings, so you can come to any of them if you have some questions and want to learn more.
So one of the big changes that you'll notice from 6th to 7th grade is the opportunity to take AP courses. And we want to talk a lot about that. As a current 7th grade counselor, it's something that we work on quite a bit, on helping students identify and knowing, is AP courses a good placement for them, or is an academic course a better setting? So they do have the opportunity to choose. All of these are separate entities of themselves, so they don't have to take all pre-AP courses. They can pick and choose which ones they would like to take for all their core subjects. So pre-AP classes are offered at the middle school level to students to help gain an edge. It's a college preparation, helping them prepare, especially when they do get into high school, knowing the in-depth or the rigor of an AP course. So getting a head start on college level work, improving writing skills and problem solving techniques, and developing study habits that are necessary for handling this rigorous coursework. A note, if you have a student that is gifted and talented, they no longer receive pull-out services for GT as a 7th and 8th grader. How that works is that they get those GT, they still will be labeled GT by taking at least one AP course. Going the wrong way. So some of the differences between pre-AP and academics. Pre-AP, it's more in-depth, extension-style classwork and homework, so there's going to be a lot more in-depth work. It's going to require a lot more motivation, attention, and skill. This is one of the things that's really important when you are working with your child to help decide if an AP or an academic course is more appropriate, is that we talk with students all the time that have always done very well in school. It's always come really easy to them and haven't put forth a lot of effort. That changes quite a bit when you're going from 6th to 7th grade, because not only is it the academic ability, it's also the desire and the motivation to put forth effort to do well, because it is going to be more work, it is more in-depth, it is more critical thinking. So not only do they need that academic capability, they also need the desire to want to put forth the effort to be successful. That's a huge piece in that decision. Students assume the independent responsibility, where it's going to be more their responsibility than teacher responsibility to get their work done, to get their assignments turned in, to keep up with the things they need to keep up with. And testing is more indirect application. Academic courses, it's going to be more grade level type work. Comprehension style may require more guidance from teachers. So if your child needs a little bit more guidance, a little more help in getting things turned in, getting things done, then an academic course might be a better fit. They may need more monitoring to ensure the completion of their assignments. And again, this is a big change from 6th to 7th grade, because they're going to have 4 different teachers at this point. And so they have 4 different sets of expectations, 4 different sets of assignments, 4 sets of projects and things that they have to keep up with. So is your student able to keep up with all of those things? Is that something that they're motivated to do? So how to decide between pre-AP and academic classes? Their academic strengths. Is, let's say, math, is that a strength? Is that something they've always excelled in, something they really enjoy? Then they might be good fit for an academic or a pre-AP course. Commitment to academics. Again, this is a huge piece. Do they have the desire to put forth the effort that it's going to take to be successful in an AP course? Motivation. Extracurricular activities. Again, when we were talking, this is a really big change, because not only do they have the opportunity at this point to choose whether they'd like to be in AP courses or not, they also have extracurricular activities that they'll have the opportunity to be involved in at this point, like athletics. And so taking into consideration all the things that y'all have going on at night, the extracurricular activities that they have, as well as balancing those pre-AP courses.
Okay, so a lot of information. How do you decide? A good rule of thumb, if your student's doing really well in a subject, like making an A or a high B, that could be a good pre-AP candidate. But you've got to balance that with the motivation that Ms. Lorton just talked about. And then talk to the teachers. They know your students better than we do, so they're going to help you pick better than we'll be able to help your student pick. And then talk with your student. Do they want to put forth the extra effort? Do they want to spend that extra time at home and in class doing more than what's required in an academic course? So here's an important consideration. We present all this, and we want you to know that pre-APs are not appropriate for all students, and that's okay. There is nothing wrong with an academic course. It's a perfect fit for a lot of students, and so just because it's out there, don't feel like there's any pressure to take those courses. And you can take them like just in English or just in history, or you can take them across the board. So pick and choose what fits best for your student. If your student selects a pre-AP course and they start to struggle in the beginning of school, let's say those first 3 weeks of school, there's something called the SAVE process that we can consider. We don't want students to fail in a course because they got in over their head. But we are going to require them to do some things to show that they're putting forth the effort. So we don't want a student to get into a course, go, man, this is way too hard, and then come to us and say, I need out. We're going to ask that they've done several things, and this is district-wide. So we're looking for no missing assignments. They're not failing because they didn't turn the assignment in. We're looking for retesting. Did they go back in for tutorials and retest when they failed something? We're looking for attending tutorials regularly, not just one time. So you're going on a regular basis to get help from a teacher. And then they're conferencing with the teacher to say, hey, I'm struggling, can you help me? So those are requirements that we put in place for our 7th graders before we'll let them consider a move out of a course. Deadlines are as follows. It's the first 3 weeks of the start of school each semester, having followed those requirements that I just went through. So let's take a second to talk about math, because that's a big, big course selection in 7th grade. You have 2 options in math, pre-AP Math 7 and then academic Math 7. So it says pre-AP Math 7, only students who have mastered 6th grade mathematics should consider that pre-AP course. Here's why. Pre-AP Math 7 takes 7th grade math and 8th grade math and combines them into one class, which means you're getting double doses of math in one 45-minute period every day. So it's going to move really quick, and it's going to be added rigor, depth, sophistication. It's going to move fast. Great fit if your student is good in math. Not a great fit if math is a difficult course for your student, and that's okay. Some students would do better in Math 7. Math 7 is going to take the whole year to go through the Math 7 concepts, and then in 8th grade, they'll take the whole year to go through the 8th grade concepts. They'll both end up taking algebra just at different times. Standard expectations of work in the Math 7 class. So let's say you took regular Math 7. If you look on the left side, in 8th grade you take regular Math 8. In 9th grade you'd start with algebra, 10th grade geometry. And then 11th, 12th, it talks about endorsement math. That's all the graduation things I was talking about with that House Bill 5. If you look on the other side, pre-AP Math 7 in 7th grade leads you to algebra in 8th grade, geometry in 9th grade, and then 10th grade pre-AP algebra 2. So it's one more math class in there, and then your endorsement classes 11 and 12. Both plans are just fine. It's just what fits better for your student, because we want them to do well in these classes. So we put them in pre-AP Math 7 and they struggle, they're going to struggle in algebra. All right, let's talk about credit by exam. Credit by exam is offered for students who would like to advance through either an entire grade level, so maybe they want to skip 7th grade and go to 8th grade, or they want to advance in math specific. So let's say your 6th grader is doing so well right now, they want to skip maybe 7th and 8th grade math and move to algebra next year. So what this means is you have to have taken some tests, and they happen in the summer, and you have to earn an 80 or above on them. So if you want to skip a whole grade level, you've got to show mastery in English, math, science, social studies, those 4 tests. If you want to just skip math, it's taking the math test. So if your 6th grader wants to test out of math next year and go to algebra, they would take 7th grade test and 8th grade test and have to make an 80 or above on both. If you're in that boat and you want to talk to us, you can set an appointment with us and we can talk through that with you.
Okay, so that's the academic piece. Now moving on to the electives. In 7th and 8th grade, there is a requirement that they do receive 1 year of a physical education type class. So we highly recommend that all of our 7th graders get that credit out of the way by either taking athletics or a PE course, so that in 8th grade, they have a lot more electives to choose from. And they'll still get to choose athletics or PE if they'd like to as an 8th grader, but they won't have to because they've already gotten that credit out of the way. So the choices that they have to fulfill that PE credit would be either athletics, PE, or a tennis and PE type course, and we'll talk about each one of those. So some of the differences between athletics and PE. Athletics, no pass, no play. There's the UIL rule. that if they are not passing a class, they do not get to participate in that sport. So that's really big, because that's a big change for a lot of our kiddos when, you know, they start their academics and realize that they're not doing as well as they hope. They're not going to get to participate or play in their sport if they're not passing their classes. They're going to be doing lots and lots of running. Ms. Clement and I always chuckle a little bit at the beginning of the year because we get lots of kiddos coming in and they are just exhausted. They're getting up early, they're worn out, it's really hard and tiring. The coaches are going to push them. They're going to be doing lots of strength training, lots of conditioning, lots of working in their sport. It's going to be tough. It's going to be rigorous. It's going to be a lot of work. So they have to be able to put forth that effort and know that it's going to be, the coaches have high expectations. They are going to be doing lots of physical running and those types of things. For 7th graders, if they are in sport, they will participate before school. So let's say you have a football player. They'll have practice before school and then they'll also go into first period. If they're in athletics and say they don't want to do football, then they'd just be in off season. So that means they wouldn't participate during football time. They would just come to first period and they would do off season type things. That could be strength training, conditioning, different things the coaches will work on with them. There are tryouts and cuts for various sports. For boys, the sports that are offered are football, basketball, cross country, track, and soccer. And for girls, it's volleyball, basketball, cross country, track, and soccer. PE is like the PE that they've always known, that they've done all the way from kindergarten up to 5th grade. So it's just more activity-based, and there's not outside work that they will have or practices, and everybody participates. So there is a big difference. Our coaches are here tonight if y'all have questions for them as well to kind of help. And one of the things that we really stress, if your child chooses athletics, it is a full year commitment. So if they get into it and decide, gosh, I was going to do basketball, I didn't make the team, I don't really want to be in athletics anymore, that is a full year commitment that they are making, whether they make the team that they wanted to or not. So that's something really important to think about as well. In 7th grade, students get to take 2 electives per semester. One of those electives will be that PE credit, so either the PE or the athletics, and the other elective will be a full year. They'll either get to choose a full year course or 2 semester courses. So the full year courses that are offered in 7th grade is choir, and students can take choir in 7th grade even if they've never taken choir before, they just have a love for music. They will have the opportunity to take choir, that is a full year elective. Band. To take band, they really need to have taken band as a 6th grader because that's when they learn their individual instruments. When they move into 7th grade band, they're actually part of a band at that point. So they really need to have a good understanding of their instrument and how to play it already. If for some reason your child didn't take band as a 6th grader but still would like to, our band teachers are here tonight as well to kind of talk through options on that. And the PALS program just opened up last year for our 7th graders as well. So it's for 7th and 8th graders, and it is an interview and application process. So we'll be talking more to students about that as well, but that is a select group that will interview and be chosen for that class. Semester electives, so these are classes they would take for half of a year. They can choose between art, conversational Spanish, creative writing, speech communications, theater, and exploring careers. And when we go into the classes to talk to the students, we'll talk to them about the differences of what these courses entail. Y'all are always welcome to go online to the course catalog online, and it will give you descriptions of each one of these elective courses.
And tonight when you go afterwards, you can also meet those teachers and ask questions about the courses. So here's our special note about electives, and please help us stress this to your students. We are going to try so hard this summer to make sure that these schedules are fantastic for your kids, but we can't guarantee these elective choices. They're decided based on availability. So if we run out of seats, we have to move down to a second choice. And so we put in first choices, we work real hard, but sometimes we do have to move to a second choice for a student. The exception is athletics or band. If your student selects either one of those, they will be in those classes for sure. Those are non-negotiables. We know that's an extra time and financial commitment, and so if they pick those, they will be in those classes. Okay, so here's what's next. We meet with your students this week. We'll give them that packet after we practice that draft form with them. They'll take the packet home to you guys. You'll look through it. You'll pick classes, look at the course guide online, and then return it with your signature by February 12th to their student's teacher, so they can bring it to their third period teacher and drop it off there. After that, here's what happens. We put all the requests into the computer, and then a verification letter is going to be sent home in the spring. The verification letter verifies that Ms. Lorton and I have the courses correct in the computer. So we are going to be scheduling with the right information. It is not your student's schedule. So what comes home in the spring is a chance for you to check us and double check us to make sure it's correct or make any changes, and then you submit it back to us, and from that we'll work on the schedule over the summer. Once your student receives the schedule in August, when they come for Meet the Teacher Night, that is their schedule and there will not be any changes. And the reason we do that is we know students are going to change their minds, and that's totally fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that draft form with them, and they can change and erase as many times as they want, and we're going to take that up. And then you guys at home can do that registration form, and you can keep it for that week and a half or so, change as many times as you want, and then we're going to take that up. And then when that verification form comes out, you can change that as many times as you want, and then you're going to turn it in, and we're going to take that, and that's the final change time. After that, we will not be changing schedules, because at a certain point, we have to stop and actually start making schedules. And so if we took changes all summer long, it would be very difficult to have a schedule for your student in August when they came back. So then August 2014, your student will get their schedule for 7th grade, and that will be it, and they'll have a great start to the year with that schedule. So we're gonna go through a couple other important things. We're almost done tonight. Athletics is a big deal, and so after this, athletics teachers are back here. Our coaches are in the back, and they can answer a lot of questions for you. But something important to know is if your student wants to be in athletics, there's paperwork that is required. And so the paperwork has to be completed and submitted before they can participate in athletics. Some of those forms are online at the Keller site. It says Students and Families in Athletics. There's a lot of electronic participation forms that have to be filled out and signed by both you and your student. There's also a physical that has to be done, and that's a paper copy that you take to your doctor and then you bring it back to school. And you can do that anytime this spring and go and get that turned in. Yes. Real quick, back in that, we had athletics, PE, and then tennis PE. The tennis PE, tennis is something that we are going to offer in conjunction with PE this year. Tennis is a non-competitive course, and it's going to last for a semester. So if your student wants to try tennis out, maybe learn some skills, this is not going to be an advanced tennis course. If your student's advanced, they can still take the class, but it is going to be very basic. So they can take tennis in the fall and then do PE in the spring. Or it may work in their schedule that they do PE in the fall and tennis in the spring. And it'll be, just like a standard PE class with expectations and not the forceful practice, but it will give them a chance to try out tennis next year.
And it's separate from the tennis team.
And it is separate from the tennis team. If you want to be on the tennis team, your student, whether they're in that class or not, could still try out for that. So that's a little different for us this year.
Okay, another big important point in 7th grade, in 7th grade, they have to have all their immunizations. This is required by the law. I think the nurse has already sent home some information if you do have some missing immunizations, but that is a really important piece that y'all will need to make sure you have everything turned in that needs to, because if we don't have all that documentation and all of their shots, then when they come back to us in August, we won't be able to give them their schedules because that is a state requirement. Here's kind of a list of what they have to have as entering 7th grade. And if you have any questions, Nurse Jane is wonderful. She will be able to help you if you need any immunizations or have any questions if you have what you need. So big piece for 7th grade, make sure that you do have all your immunizations up to date so that your student will be ready to start with us next year. So what's next tonight? After this, we're about to wrap up. The elective teachers are here, and y'all have the opportunity, if you have any questions, to stop by. When you walked in, there was a purple form, and that has the list of classrooms where you'll be able to find all the elective teachers to be able to ask any questions, and also to get a much better idea of maybe some of the elective choices that your child would like to choose for next year. Also, the core teachers are going to be up in the 7th grade collaboration area, which is upstairs on this wing. They have really worked hard to get a lot of information. They're displaying lots of work samples to show the differences between pre-AP work as opposed to academic. So please take the opportunity to go up and get a good idea, ask lots of questions to help you know what would be best for your child as far as taking pre-AP or academic courses. So the teachers will be upstairs and you'll be able to ask them lots of questions.